Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cumulus Solutions bi-monthly webinar series. My name is Kyle Johnson. I'm the Director of Security Operations and Risk Management for Cumulus, and I will be guiding you through today's webinar. We do these, like I said, bi-monthly, and we will post them to all of our social media outlets, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, as well as our website, so you can find them on demand there. For those of you that don't know who Cumulus is, we are a cybersecurity consulting firm that provides organizations with access to the people, expertise, and technologies they need to assist them with developing and reviewing their information security program. As you can see on the screen, we provide various amounts of different professional services to organizations, ranging from different security and risk assessments to policy development, virtual CISO. My colleague Brian Mans, who was on our first webinar, is the head of the vulnerability management program. And we also do employee awareness training that is a full-fledged managed program for organizations that really takes the onus off of them and gives them great tips about employee awareness training as well as the online platform that they need. But today, I'm going to talk to you about risk management from a cybersecurity perspective. And yes, as Ron Burgundy says, it is kind of a big deal. Many organizations do risk assessments, but they may have their own risk management team. They may, have their security team do it or IT, but a lot of times organizations need that third party to come in from an unbiased perspective and give them, a full-fledged risk assessment and help them identify those gaps. So understanding what an actual cybersecurity risk assessment is a formal process that identifies organizational cybersecurity risks across the entire enterprise. And the key words there is the entire enterprise, because it takes that holistic view to actually have a full-fledged, well-defined risk assessment. These assessments will identify potential cybersecurity threats and those vulnerabilities in your environment and predict the impact and likelihood of those threats occurring. So, an example, of risk assessments that somebody might do that may not be somewhat of a cybersecurity perspective would be, what's the likelihood of a tornado coming through and wiping out this building or something like that. And now from a cybersecurity perspective, you're looking at hackers. You're looking at the bad guys. How can they get into our environment? What are the vulnerabilities that we may have? Is it access control? Do we not train our employees well enough? All of those different things. It is very important to look at all of those different areas and understand the likelihood of something bad actually happening to your organization. And like I said, since it's the entire enterprise, this is not just an IT project. It's not just an information security team project. Multiple departments should be involved in this and really open up that communication line to understand where they're at from a cybersecurity perspective. IT may have all of these controls in place, but X department in a different building may be doing workarounds. They may be violating policy. And if you don't open up that line of communication and really get on the same team, then some of your controls may be thrown out the window because of that. So it's very important to understand what organizations are doing, good and bad, from that perspective. And obviously the goal is to just to produce a gap analysis that shows those deficiencies in the program. That way, you have that roadmap to really understand and go forward with that information security program. There are many, many benefits of a cyber risk assessment and a cybersecurity controls assessment. Number one, it assists decision makers and those responsible for security to make those informed decisions. It helps them spend the money that they need to where they need to. All of those things, it really depends on the risk and the prioritization of where those gaps lie in that organization. The second thing is it provides guidance for the selection and implementation for controls to an actual framework. So this could be NIST, it could be the CIS Top 20. A slew of different frameworks are out there that are industry standard, and those really can guide an organization to where they need to put those controls in and spend the money where they need to. But it also has to be from an enterprise standpoint. It also helps organizations understand where those gaps are and it ensures those organizations address those gaps from an incident response and a business continuity perspective. So one big thing about a risk assessment is talking about SLAs and critical applications that the organizations need to function. If you go to an HR department and they say this application needs to be constantly up or up within 30 minutes, and then IT is sitting here saying, well, I can't have this up until for 3 or 4 hours, that's a big deficiency right there. And the communication needs to be had to what else can we do? What is reasonable? Where do we have to spend money on the business continuity end to really beef up where we're at to accommodate for those? Or is the organization willing to accept being down for 3 or 4 hours on a very critical application? All of those questions come up during those risk assessments, and really understand that from a holistic organizational view. Another thing, it can really give great metrics that the IT or security team can communicate to senior management and the board of directors. A lot of times this is very high level information, but a risk assessment can show you exactly where the gaps are and where they need to spend money, and can give you that backing, especially from a third party. It can give the IT or security team the backing that they need. If they've been saying over and over again that, hey, I need to put this control in, and then you get a third party to come in and say, yeah, you definitely need that control, that gives you the ammo to go to your board of directors to say, look, we're not just saying this is very important. We have a third party that is also saying that as well. Those can be huge factors when you're looking at spending dollars in an organization. It also looks at the details of incident response plans. So as we talked about with business continuity, this is looking at, are you prepared to respond to an incident if and most likely when something occurs? This can be something simple as a phishing email that gets through and somebody clicks on it. What do those incident response plans look like? Because an incident is definitely different than a breach. And how do you as an organization prevent that incident from becoming a full-fledged breach? All of those can be addressed in those plans and those gaps. And something that we look at, and what I'll touch on here in a minute, is looking at all of those policies and procedures that you may have in place, and understanding what is actually in those documents to really address anything from the gaps in the incident response perspective that you may have. Like I said, we evaluate all those documents and really understanding what those policies and procedures look like from a business continuity perspective and running the business in general. So do you have policies in place for VPN access or remote access if somebody was to have to work outside of the site that you're currently at? As we know, in today's world, things can change very rapidly, as we've been seeing, and a lot of people are adjusting to this and really didn't have any plans in place. So a risk assessment can really come in and help look at all of those deficiencies and gaps that you may have, and really understand where you need to spend your money, what you need to put in place in case something like this happens again. But even for running the business in general, do your policies match up to what is actually being done from a holistic organizational perspective? We've gone through many clients, and a lot of times that's not the case. The policy may say one thing, but in practice, it's not actually happening. So really understanding and matching those up can go a long way in compliance and the regulations, showing that you've actually done your due diligence and had assessments done of the whole organization can really save fines. It can save a lot of money, and obviously make you better prepared if and when something were to happen. So from that perspective, what does Cumulus do? So we like to say it's the Cumulus approach. So number one, we come in and we will do a documentation gathering phase. So this is where we will evaluate your policies, your procedures, anything that you have implemented as an organization, not just IT or security, but as an organization, what is your acceptable use policy? What is your password policy? All of those little things that we kind of put on the back burner and forget about, all of those need to come to light during a risk assessment to understand exactly, if there are any gaps or how great you are doing in certain areas. Once we have all of those documents gathered and reviewed, then that's when we will come in and actually talk to those individuals and those departments that are running those critical applications. They're responsible for, certain access controls within their department if it's not managed by IT. They're, a lot of times many applications are run from a department standpoint where it's just IT's job to keep them up and running, but access control and all of those things are handled by a department standpoint. So many times IT is like, well, shoot, I don't have anything I don't have any stake in the game with them. So that's where talking to those departments and getting them to understand how important cybersecurity is goes a very long way into keeping the whole organization secure. And then obviously at the end, after we talk to, your financial departments, your HR departments, obviously IT, security, all of those organizations or all those departments, once we talk to those people, then we will provide a comprehensive report that aligns with a framework. This is huge. It will align to a framework that really can be repeatable from that organization to match up gaps, different controls. It's all industry standard, of course, and it will give them the roadmap that they need to put in place in order to achieve, a more secure posture. And this is very helpful for organizations that really, have many different things in place, but they may not know how to put them all together in a framework, or those organizations that are so small that don't even know where to begin from a cybersecurity perspective, but they know it's important. They just don't know where to begin. This roadmap and these assessments can go a very, very long way in helping the organization stay secure. So with that, I would like to say thank you for joining today's webinar. If you ever have any questions about our risk assessments, vulnerability management, policies, anything like that, please feel free to reach out and contact us at info@cumulussolutions.com. You can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. Our website obviously is cumulussolutions.com. You can find out all of these different information on there. And with that, until next time, thank you very much.